Yo, 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 what's good, everybody? It is Kev, 1/3 of the time crystals that make up games, music, life. I'll be coming to you today with a new review of the new Thundercat album, Drunk. Now, with it, Thundercat is a bass player, producer, vocalist, and all-around talented guy. And he's coming at us with his second album, follow up his 2013 release with this album here, Drunk. Now, with it, to kick off this album, we've got the track Rabbit Hole. With it, the intro sets the tone of the album and it gives you some idea of the themes that you're going to experience on Drunk. Not really a whole lot to the song as far as concept or anything like that. More of just kind of a bass to kind of get you started on the album. After that, we've got the song Captain Stupido. I thought that this was just a hilarious song. Again, it sets the tone of the intro, kind of lets you know the stuff that he goes through, or his daily routine as he goes throughout this album. I thought it was a really hilarious track, really witty, had some really funny lines in there, talking about going to sleep and waking up, that whole thing. So I thought that was pretty hilarious. After that, we've got the track Uh-Oh. It's just an instrumental track. I actually felt like on this album, a lot of the instrumentals were segues into different segments of the album, and we'll get into that a little bit deeper later on in the review. Following that, we've got the song Bustin' These Streets. I really love the glossy, playful vibe on this track. It's got some light bells playing in the background and some really upbeat bass leads on the track. The song takes a funny look at how social media and how our electronics have consumed our lives and how they've become such a big part of what we do every day, and how unplugging from those vices might be best from time to time to kind of let yourself recharge. He's got a really funny line on there, saying, where would we be if we couldn't tweet our thoughts? And it's like we would still be exactly where we were, but the thought of not being able to tweet for some people at this point would just be blasphemy. So I thought that was a really funny observation, or a really funny take on modern society, or how we kind of deal with our electronics, or how our electronics may deal with us at this point. After that, we've got A Fan's Mail. If I had to pick a favorite song on this album, this would probably be it. Thundercat, he goes in and he explores the idea of living as a cat. I guess that this song was actually about his cat. He's got a cat named Tron. And, he just kind of explores the idea of being able to live a life of leisure, do the things that he wanted to do, not have to worry about, conforming to societal norms and things like that. He talks about, how he would go out and everything that the light touches would, be his domain, and how free he would be to roam. I thought that was a really introspective, funny, and witty look into what he may dream of life one day becoming, how his house cat lives a more freeing life than he even may live at this point. So I thought that was a really cool track. And again, the beat on there is really groovy, man. It's got a really mellow vibe to it. All around, I just love that track. After that, we've got the song Lava Lamp. The song finds Thundercat longing for a lost love, not wanting to live without them in his life. He's trying to find the strength to go on alone or without them, but still wanting to find them again somehow, whether it be through a connection in this life or the next, just not wanting to let that go. I thought it was a really introspective track. I feel like most people, if you've dealt with any sort of loss, you felt that way about somebody at some point in your life. So I thought that was a really good look inside that he gave the listeners. And again, the track was jamming, so you can't really find much wrong with it. After that, we've got the song Jethro. Much like Lava Lamp, Thundercat takes a look at death and the afterlife, but this time it's more of a whole concept of life and death rather than the purpose of life. Again, I really like this song. It's actually coming out as kind of a bit of a single. It seems to be the fans' favorite. It's really pushing out there. I see a lot of people, posting or talking about this song, and for good reason. Another really dope track, keeps the vibe up on the album. Still got a really smooth sound, really easy listening, but he didn't skimp on the lyrics, so I thought that was dope. All right, and then following that up, we get Day and Night. Again, it's just another instrumental track, really smooth instrumental, but I did feel like we were kind of transitioning from that segment, and the segment that we just passed, I felt like kind of goes through, wanting to have more leisure in his life, or wanting to find more peace in his life, or find balance, or meaning in his life. And I feel like with Day and Night, now we're kind of transitioning to some different thoughts or different emotions going into this next section of the album. All right, now the next track that we got is Show You the Way. It features Michael McDonald and Kenny Loggins, which completely caught me off guard. Again, he's picking back up from the dark tone of the track, or the previous segment of the album. Thundercat was exploring letting go of your worries instead of focusing on the negative, taking the time to kind of focus on the positive parts of life and love, instead of focusing on dying or what he doesn't have. Track's got a really smooth vibe, and Thundercat fits in surprisingly well with Kenny Loggins and Michael McDonald. I didn't know how he would perform, vocally, kind of compared to these yacht rock artists, these legendary yacht rock artists, but he actually fits in very well. When you hear them all together, you can really hear where he draws a bit of his inspiration from for his music. So I thought that was dope that he was able to reach out, get them on the track, and make it all come together so well. It's not something that you see, very much in this day and age, or with the current climate of music. All right, to follow that up, we've got the track "Walk On By." It features Kendrick Lamar. It's got a super mellow track. You find Thundercat, trying to come to grips with his loneliness, or why he may find himself alone due to his own faults. Kendrick comes in and he spits a verse about trying to correct some past mistakes. Talks about some wrongdoings that he may have committed, or whoever he may be talking about may have committed towards another person just due to a misunderstanding, and gives you kind of an introspective vibe as to why they may have thought the way that they thought, and where he's at now, or trying to break away from that way of living. So I thought that was a really dope track, man. It's always good to hear Kendrick on anything these days. He's always going to give you 100%, and on this track I feel like he did it again. Him and Thundercat have worked a lot on To Pimp a Butterfly, so I felt like they already had really good chemistry, and that chemistry for me came alive again on this track. So I thought it was a dope look. After that, we've got the song "Black." It's a super jazzy sound on this song. The bass and the keys are the first thing that kind of captured my attention, so much so that I could barely tell where the vocals actually came in on this track. Really short song, as Thundercat just kind of explores his own mortality and how he wants to experience all that the universe has to offer. I thought it was a really dope song. Again, it was a very short song, which we get a lot on this album, which makes sense because album's like 21 tracks long, or somewhere in there, so it makes sense that we would kind of get these short quips to kind of keep the pace going. But again, doesn't break up the vibe of the album, fits really well, so I like that song a lot. Now the next track we come into is a song titled "Tokyo." With it, really simple track. It's got some hilarious lines about his love for Tokyo and anime. The first verse almost finds him in like a childlike amazement, visiting Tokyo, getting to see everything that they've got to offer. He talks about spending all his money on anime, how he feels like Goku while he's out there. Man, he wants to play on the pachinko machines. He's just out there all over the place, man. So much so it's like a kid at an amusement park. He doesn't want to go home. While the second verse actually dives a little bit more into the obsession, kind of showing, kind of going from that playful vibe to, borderline insanity for his obsession. And he ends it off on a line about how Goku ruined him, which I thought was just hilarious, kind of taking the lead from where that verse had gone. So I thought that this was a really good, really well put together track. Really funny. I feel like it was really lighthearted track. So good vibes all around on there. Now following up, the next track is Jamil's Space Ride. The song to me really reminds me of a cross between like an old 80s toy promo commercial and an old 8-bit video game. I like the way that he allows himself to get lost in his imagination, wanting to ride off into space, or just kind of ride out, get out of there, while still acknowledging the real hardships in life that he's had to face, or that he may come across. So even though he's getting caught up in this whirlwind or a daze, he is still cognizant of what he's actually going through, or the things or obstacles that may come up in his life, which I thought was a really dope contrast to where he kind of saw life and where life actually is for him. All right, so after that, man, we've got what I feel like will probably be the most successful song off this album, and it is the song "Friend Zone." First, to kind of talk about the production on the track, I really love the spacey but groovy vibe on this track. It's got kind of a mellow dance vibe that just makes you want to groove, makes you want to move around, man. But talking about the actual song itself, I think that it's hilarious the way that he's describing this relationship between him and a girl that he wants but doesn't really seem to want him. He's kind of stuck in that friend zone place, and he's just fed up with it at this point. He's kind of getting to that point where he's like, hey, listen, if you're not, going to give me a real chance, then I'm out of here. I don't want to deal with you anymore. I'll just be done with the whole thing, which I thought was hilarious. He comes in, he's got a lot of really witty lines about, not changing who he is to kind of be better suited for this person. He's still going to love Mortal Kombat. He's still going to love playing Diablo. He doesn't care what you think about it. And I thought that was really dope, man. The song is really funny, but at the same time, it holds a lot of truth in it. So I thought that was a dope way to kind of capture that feeling or that essence on that track. So again, if you haven't heard that already, I would definitely recommend that you kind of start there. If you haven't listened to the project, I think that will draw that interest back in for you. All right, now to follow, we've got the track Them Changes. Now for me, as far as the instrumentation, this might be one of the best arrangements on this album, in my opinion. The song is just so funky. The bass and the keys are top notch on this track, with the drums just kind of keeping the pace. I actually found out that the drums were a sample from the Isley Brothers' Footsteps in the Dark, and once you hear that song, you can hear where the drums are just blatantly ripped off from there, but they gave credit, so it's all good. Thundercat just kills it, and he's singing about being lost and guarded, trying to put himself back together after having his heart broken, wanting to find that will to go on or find new relationships or give him a chance, even though it's hard just because he's found that disappointment. Really well put together track. If you haven't already heard it, definitely again would implore you to go out and listen to it, because I really think that is a well written, well produced track. Definitely worth checking out. All right, now to follow, we've got the track Where I'm Going. I really love the slow pace of this string arrangement on here that really matched with some high energy drums. Gives the track a real kind of calm but a frantic feel at the same time that matches perfectly with Thundercat singing about how confusing it can be trying to find the direction in his life. And, when you couple that along with time or getting older, it can feel like everything and nothing at the same time, which is actually a line from the song, which I thought really captured the essence of the point that he was trying to get across. Again, another really dope track. Now, to follow that up, we've got the track Drink That. It features Wiz Khalifa. This song, it sounds like the perfect radio hit, to be honest with you. It's got a really smooth bass and percussion that set the vibe up front, with some really mellow synths that play throughout. This song seems like it was tailored perfectly for Wiz Khalifa's style. It's not really a song about much of anything. It's just kind of a party track, just kind of let your hair down, let loose, which is the space that Wiz Khalifa exists in. So it really worked out well for him, and kind of his party vibe, bring that track to life. I felt like Thundercat kind of took a back seat, even though he kills the hook. It sounds like it may be more of a Wiz Khalifa song than it is a Thundercat song, just because Wiz comes through with 2 verses on there. But again, perfect vibe track, just kind of setting you up for that no worries feeling. Set your worries to the side, enjoy a fun night out, that whole vibe. So really well put together. If you like Wiz Khalifa, I definitely think that you'll like this song. Kind of reminds me of some smooth Cushion OJ throwbacks or something like that. Now the next track up is Inferno. Now this track comes in the aftermath of a night out partying, or throwing your worries by the wayside. It's kind of like once you get home, get settled, and you're coming back down to reality of where your life is and just how crazy things have been getting. I really like the smoothness of this track and how it gradually goes off key, and there are like little changes in the production that represent how things are breaking down or spiraling out of control. I really thought that was a cool way to kind of capture the essence of the point of that song. So again, another really good transition or follow-up, keeping the album on pace. And after that, we kind of got a couple of short songs in there. The next track up is I Am Crazy. It's a short song. It's more of just an idea, just kind of setting the listener back into where he's at in the album, where we kind of got that chilled, laid-back vibe on Drink That. He's more so setting up Inferno to let you know, hey, listen, life's still spiraling out of control. I let everything go for that little bit of time, but now that I'm back on my 2 feet, everything is still going wrong, or I am still crazy, which I thought again kept the pace of the album really well, but not too much to really say about that track. After that, we've got the track 3 a.m. It's just another song again expressing the feeling that something is missing in his life, kind of middle of the night, lost in his thoughts. A thing that I actually did kind of realize throughout the album was Most of this just sounds like, his drunk thoughts. After a night out of drinking, this is what he was kind of coming to, and this is where he was closing out. So I really did think that he was doing a great job of catching that vibe throughout the whole album. It did stay with that theme, which actually leads into the next song, which is Drunk. Thundercat finds himself staring back at the bottom of the bottle, just trying to escape his reality, his broken heart, searching for direction, just trying to make sense of his life and getting himself back on track. Now, after that, we've got the song The Turn Down featuring Pharrell. I felt like, since we're getting to the end of the album, I felt like this was actually a really great way to kind of bring the album back down. I really love the hazy, drowning sound of this track as Thundercat, again, finds himself looking out at the state of things in the world and in his life and trying to find his place in it or trying to find meaning in it. I really love the line about making sure that you have the right Jordans on or you'll be left behind to rot and die, face down in the gutter. Like, it was, it was just such a small, insignificant thing, but he was making it out to be the biggest thing in the world, which I feel like is a lot of what we do in society today. We focus on a lot of the wrong things, and I thought that was just kind of a hilarious quip, about the state of things on there. With it, Pharrell's contribution kind of brought the whole project together for me. The whole ride through this album, I felt like it had a really NERD kind of vibe to it. So having Pharrell come in there, it felt like, everything was kind of coming to the coup de grace. Really thought that was a dope song. Pharrell's contribution on this track, I thought was dope. Again, it reaffirmed that nerd feeling for me on this album, so I thought that was fitting. And then the last track we got is DUI. The last song, again, explores the idea of being drunk, and even though it's the same action, your experience may come back differently. Sometimes you'll have a good time, sometimes, it's the worst thing in the world. Just kind of wraps up the idea that he's been exploring throughout the whole album. I thought that it was dope that this song actually uses the same beat or the same production as the intro track, Rabbit Hole. With it, I felt like it showed where the album was continuous, or even though the album was coming to a close, he's kind of stuck in the same cycle. And I thought that him using that for the outro track was really representative of that, which I thought was a great final touch. Because if you got the album on repeat, boom, you start right back at the top and you're going right back through the whole thing again. Now, in conclusion, I really love this album. It took me a while to get this review out just because I've been listening to it nonstop, and it feels like every time I listen to it, there are more layers that kind of peel back and reveal themselves to me. Really well thought out album. Some of these tracks were even older, but they still fit with the theme of the project, and it was, I don't want to say it was a concept album on here, but he did have that theme, and when you listen to all the songs together, you really see where it all sticks together. So I thought that it was really well developed in that idea. For me, I feel like this is must-listen music. It's been kind of going a bit under the radar in my opinion, but for the people that have listened to it, I think that everybody's really enjoying it. If you haven't listened to it, I would definitely recommend you go out there and check it out. I rated this album out at a 92. It'll be in rotation for me for quite some time. If you have heard it, let me know what you think. Again, this is Kev. I am 1/3 of the time crystals that make up Games Music Life. If you haven't already, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, check out some of our other videos, drink more water, enjoy the rest of your day. Peace.